Thursday, February the 13th is currently 7:05. I'll entertain a motion for us to start the general town session.
I'll make a motion to begin the town session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any objections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. This meeting is now in order. To start the meeting, we'll do a pledge of allegiance to the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we can now take a moment of silence and think about those who are shut in, who need our help, who need our service, who serve us, and those in hardship. Okay, now can we take a moment of silence and think about the things that we're joyous about, that we're grateful for, that keep us happy and that we honored in our life? All right, thank you all so much. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have you guys here and to have anyone here who may be listening on. The first order on the agenda is, our next order on the agenda is the approval of minutes. So the staff's been working really hard and catching up with the minutes over a period of time. I will accept a motion to accept the minutes as a whole or to accept them in sections.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as a whole.
So these would be the minutes being approved for,
April the 4th, April the 11th, April the 25th, May 3rd, May 9th, June 13th, July 11th, September 5th, September the 12th, October the 3rd, November the 7th, and December the 5th.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Bowden. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3, Ward 4, and the mayor votes aye. I want to thank the staff. I know it's been quite a challenge, actually changing staff and different people doing the work, but they stepped up and they finally got it done. And so we look forward to staying up at this point.
I'm sorry, Mayor. When you said discussion, I just had one, for October the 3rd, it's just a typo. Councilman Blue is absent, and it has, Jackson Blue motion to adjourn the meeting. It's a typo on October the 3rd, 2017.
Okay, so will the maker of the motion accept this change?
With the correction.
With the correction?
Yes.
Okay, this second accepts that correction?
With correction.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any objections? Okay, we're good with the change. Okay. Our next order of business is the mayor's report. Well, since January, what's been happening since January? We had a rather robust, the Maryland Mayors Association meets in early February. This association focuses a whole lot on the legislation that is being proposed by Maryland Municipal League in relationship to things that affect municipalities. In the number one case, we're focused on the highway users tax. During Martin O'Malley's term in office, he reduced the income that we receive from the highway significantly, and therefore we are still trying to get this money back. This is the money that the state pays us because their highway, meaning Route 1, Bladensburg Road, goes through our towns. And so that's been a large focus with this group. I have been the secretary of the Maryland Mayors Association over the last year, and now I am the second vice president to the association. And we also spend time going to the schools and speak to young people about what is Maryland mayors, what do mayors do. And so I look forward to doing that next month, in the month of March, to actually go out to the schools. Let's see, what else has happened during the month of March, the month of January. We've been doing a lot of work inside of the building here, working on our hall rentals and ensuring that we bring the hall rentals, getting more and more of them and organizing them to make sure that we are recording our information. The gym has been off the charts in terms of the attendance. We are averaging in the last month or so about 45 folks during open gym. And we're also working on operations in the building. So moving forward, the next item on the agenda is the council ward reports. Ward 1.
Yes, good evening. I've noticed in Ward 1, a lot of people are still putting the bulk trash out over the weekend. Sometimes you see it sitting in front of their house like on a Saturday. Bulk trash is on Wednesday, and you have to call them up and let them know what the items are that you're putting out. So call on Tuesday and let them know that you're putting out a sofa and a chair. And the number is 301-773-2069. And you have to call that number before 2 o'clock to schedule that you're going to put these things out, so they'll pick them up. I've also noticed that a lot of people are doing a lot of work on their house and the outside and some repairs on the inside. We're still working on a code enforcer, but you can call Chief at 301-779-54, what's the last two numbers? Chief? 20. And if you have any questions on what you have to have a permit to do and what you don't have to have a permit to do. And bulk trash doesn't take a lot of the material either, so how to dispose of material. Also, you can call the town hall for community service hours if you're in your 11th, 12th grade, even 7th and up can call. We're working on the Easter egg hunt, and Miss Renee can always use a hand. I want to say happy birthday to the February people. I got a grandson, Jordan. He's turning 11, and happy birthday to anyone else in town. It's birthdays. It's my anniversary today, and I want to say happy Valentine's Day to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Blue. Okay, Councilmember Belton.
Oh, good evening. I noticed in my ward, people still not picking up their dog poop. So please be considerate. If your dog poop, please clean it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ward 3, Mayor
I have
Pro Tem
no report
Jackson.
for Ward 3 today.
All right, thank you so much. Ward 4, Councilmember Mendoza.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending and tuning in. Just wanted to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. Happy anniversary to Councilmember
Thank
Blue
you.
and also Councilmember Jackson.
Mhm.
And happy birthday to all for the February birthdays. Tracy Stone over there.
All right.
Doesn't want anybody to know. But last month, we went to the swearing in for the new town manager for Cottage City, Mr. Dylan Galloway. So we welcome you. Thank you. And thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much. I want to say happy birthday to Councilmember Mendoza. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, and we got cupcakes in the back. Mr. Barr, you want to grab those cupcakes back there and bring them forward? In the kitchen. Oh, they're out here already. Oh, okay, they're out here already. So anybody wants to partake in the cupcakes, please do for the birthday. I also wanted to say that we do have our Black History Month event this weekend. It's Saturday here at the Town Hall. We are doing this in collaboration with Cottage City, and we're really happy to see what's going on there, and we're looking to collaborate a whole lot more. I did want to mention, because my mind was frozen, I'm working on the state of the town, so that we'll put out a newsletter over the next week, which speaks to where we are in the town in terms of where we are in making improvements, our revenues, our code enforcement, the police. Where are we in the progress that we're making towards this, using this facility, and so forth. So that's been a lot of my time just going through the research over the last several years to really look at what have we been putting into place. And I'm happy to say that we have made a lot of good progress. We have a long way to go, but we have an excellent green team, an excellent garden club, and we are Maryland certified, sustainable certified. So a lot of the activity's been going into doing that, and we're really happy and pleased with that. I did also miss mentioning that Maryland Black Mayors are also very active on the Maryland Black Mayors, and in doing so, we have been participating in providing scholarships to different mayors so that we can learn and grow, as well as scholarships to young people, and recognizing scholarships to young people. So there'll be a gala in May, late May, where we'll recognize young people, but we'll also offer scholarships to other mayors so that we have an opportunity to go to conferences and learn about other towns and what goes into those towns and so forth. So I'm very excited about being on that board as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the report from the work session. Okay, so from the work session, we discussed the Royal African Ball, which will be here on February the 24th. And this ball, we will have some kings and queens and highnesses coming here from Africa. And so the Royal Ball, the Royal Ball person who's putting it on asked for a proclamation, and so we will be presenting a proclamation. If you're interested in attending the Royal Ball, please let us know, give us a call, and we look forward to being able to host such an event in our space here at the Town Hall. We also discussed additional credit cards. We have a Costco card and a MasterCard. And once Ms. Myers we left employment here, we've only had one card of each, and so based on transparency and clarity as to who's using what, we did vote on adding an additional card, a Costco card, which currently our recreation coordinator, Renee, has, and the MasterCard, who our public works supervisor, Mr. Gorham, has, so that Kayla Cooper would also have a Costco card and also a MasterCard, so that when she's making purchases, it can be clear that she's the one that made purchases. We talked about MML attendees. All of the council members have agreed to attend. We anticipate 2 employees who will attend to take courses, as well as participate in our Main Street booth at MML, for which all 4 towns of the Port Towns will be sending people, and also the chief of police attending as well. We had a camera update. Maybe a few months ago, you guys may have recalled that I brought forth a conversation in relationship to the cameras in this facility. We have 20 cameras in this facility which are pretty old at this point in time. And over a period of watching the cameras, I have been able to observe that we have some missing locations of the cameras that could be critical and important. And so in that conversation, we've been going through the process and bringing in some camera people to look at our scenarios here. As you know, we have the basketball court downstairs. We have the outreach room where we have the young people here in the summertime who spends time in this outreach room. We have the weight room downstairs, and of course all these cameras in all of the staircases. But we're limited in the technology of the cameras. So we went over the proposal with the chief and I met. with camera people, with Mr. Baden, and we went through the process, and they made some recommendations on the cameras. We did vote because we've had limited payrolls at this time. We were able to transfer, we had budgeted for $6,000 for the cameras.
Correct.
And we were able to transfer another approximately 18? No, 15,000 from our public security budget in order to be able to get some more digital upgraded cameras to the community. So we really look forward to bringing forth that, getting the cameras up. And the council voted on actually moving forward with the cameras. We'll be making a transfer later today to transfer the funds from the public safety budget to the community center budget. Next item, we had about permeable pavers. This item was tabled, and we will be speaking on it under number 8. This required a transfer of funds, and we did not have the hypermajority that's necessary to transfer funds in the budget. The same case with the CBT, Chesapeake Bay Trust grant. We got a grant from Chesapeake Bay Trust in order to do a conceptual plan of a green street on Newark Road. And so we did vote to move forward with the funding of this proposal, but again, we could not transfer the table. So we'll be doing that this evening. That is to put us a green street on Newark Road. Legal fees. You may or may not be aware, but currently we have a previous employee who is claiming racial discrimination, and so that has caused us to have additional legal fees, and Mr. Barr has requested additional funding for that. We have Mr. Barr under retainer for normal, regular town activities, but if there's something special that requires him to attend court, there's additional fees. Again, we tabled that. You'll find this on this agenda here because we didn't have enough folks to transfer the funds. Parking permit ordinance. So we, again, and this is being brought forward again today, but we discussed the things and the changes that needed to be made to the parking permit ordinance so that we would actually be able to move forward with parking permits. And so we will be introducing that, and I'll speak a little bit more about it in a minute since it's in both places. We worked out our budget schedule. Of course, it's this time of the year to start looking at the budget again. And so what we've looked at preliminarily, and Mr. Baden wasn't present, so I apologize if he might make some changes after this, but we wanted to get something started. So we were looking to have the budget to the mayor by March 23rd, the budget to the council by April the 3rd, and then presented and introduced at the May. We have a, introduced on May, yes. Have a hearing on May 8th, so it would be introduced in April. Have a hearing on May 8th, and then a vote June 12th. So that's currently our schedule for going through the process of, and we may have some budget work sessions in between the middle as we work through the budget process. Next item on the budget is, the next item in this meeting was the chief of police. We voted to renew the contract for the chief of police. All right, and we are very happy.
Thank you.
A couple of, what was it, the 20th was your anniversary, or 25th?
January 25th.
January
Yes, ma'am.
25th was an anniversary of the chief. I want to say thank you very much to the chief. It's been great working with you. It's been working well with Cottage City, so we're really happy that this has been working out really well. I'm going to say, I'm going to burst the chief's bubble and say it myself, that we have agreed to work with Cottage City in hiring a code enforcement officer, so we can hire a full-time code enforcement officer off of benefits and so forth, which increases our options as to who we can bring in to work code enforcement. So we're really happy with building this relationship with Cottage City, which in the end is going to save us all money and Cottage City money, and that's the name of the game, is trying to save as much of your tax dollars as possible. Okay. Report on the work session. Okay, so before I go on, I want to go ahead and I want to recognize Mamie
Mamie.
Small. She's here on behalf of
Delegate.
Delegate Diana Fennell. So thank you for coming, and tell the delegate we thank her for having you here. I'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Baton.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll give a brief overview of the January 31st, 2018 financial report. This is for the first 7 months of the current fiscal year. Total revenues for the 7-month period were $1,251,802. Largest portion of this comes from real estate taxes of $941,000. Next largest revenue comes from red light camera violations of $83,367, and the third largest is from personal property tax of $59,986. On the expenditure side, we had total expenditures for general government of $350,465. For the senior van operations, $27,123. Code enforcement, $22,491. Public Works, $136,292. Upkeep of the town hall, $53,872. This includes all of the electric, water, gas, maintenance, supplies, those types of things. Public safety, $202,363, and community center operations of $55,273. Total expense for the 7 months was $850,081, and as I said, we had total income of $1,251,000. So the income is $401,000 greater than the expenditures at this point, which isn't unusual because we get our larger real estate tax payments in October and in January. So, you know, we'll see that start turning around over the last 5 months of the fiscal year. Other than that, that's all I wanted to highlight and ask you to accept the report as presented.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I'll make that motion to accept the treasury report for January 31st, 2018.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion? So I want to make a comment. As usual, I usually inform myself in the budget based on a percentage. We would normally be at 58% of budget in the general regular items. In general, we are well under budget. Community center stands out, and the reason why the community center stands out is because we need to make a salary adjustment because one of our administrative assistants was hired to work under the community center, but then was permanently hired and works mostly under administration rather than a community center. So that is actually impacting what the salaries look like under that particular line item. Additionally, the code enforcement line item, which looks high, is because we have an intern. We had previously transferred funds out of that line item until we were able to fill it. And then we have an intern who is working with us in Public Works. So it's been distorted because part of it should be Public Works and part code enforcement and not all under the code enforcement. So those are some different changes that we'll make. The general government expenses are extremely low compared to the amount that you might expect. So because we've had some salary adjustments and some changes, we're well under budget this year in a lot of different categories, and we hope to keep it that way as we go along. We have made some adjustments and changes. Whether I mentioned before, we do pay a living wage here in the town. So our part-time as well as full-time employees are paid a living wage. And we were able to maintain that based on some of the cost savings that we received in the budget this year. It's a Prince George's County living wage is what we pay. So I thank you for that. I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3? Ward 4? And the mayor votes aye. All right, our next item on the agenda is the police report.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's just a couple things I'd like to go over there. You have a two-page document outlining some of the highlights, and then there's another document regarding the police department calls for service. So just a couple of things. The first item on there was talking about a break-in on 42nd Avenue. The reason I brought that up is because that particular incident only came to a successful resolution because the community was involved in it. A member of the community called in, something looked suspicious in the house next door. The house it's unoccupied, but it's for sale. The resident gave a great description. We were able to get on the scene with Prince George's County Police and arrested 2 individuals that broke into a vacant house. Neither of those individuals lived in the community. They were from the outside community. But the reason I bring it up is because we're constantly talking about how the police department is only as good as the folks that we work with. Had the neighbors not called this suspicious activity, the individuals, and they're probably going in looking for copper. They're going to take copper out of the walls and then try to resell it. So I really gave accolades to we don't want to identify the resident or the particular address, but it was successful because our folks are looking. The other two things were the theft from autos. Theft from autos in Prince George's County is the #1 crime in PG County, and it's the #1 preventable crime. So every town hall meeting you'll hear me talk about how we encourage our folks to lock their cars and either hide their valuables in their trunks or take them with them. So we only had 2, but 2 is too many for us. They were both in the shopping center, in the town center shopping center, and unfortunately the folks left some items out in plain view, and it only takes about 5 seconds for someone to come in, smash a window, and they grab it. Two of the items were taken with nothing but book bags. They had nothing in them. They were completely, there was nothing in the book bags at all, but it's a crime of opportunity. So again, we really encourage our folks, lock your cars, take your valuables with you, or lock them in the trunk of the car. Other than that, the crime rate, I keep saying it, it's very, very low, and we're extremely blessed, not only in Colmar Manor, but in Cottage City also. I'm the chief of both departments. However, every time we do have a break-in of a car, it's something we take very seriously. So fortunately, again, we only had 2. We had no burglaries, no robberies, no Part 1 offenses, which are assaults or things of that nature. None. So the accolades don't go to the police department, it goes to our folks. So I really thank you for that. A couple things I wanted to bring to your attention on the departmental issues. I'm a real big believer in outreach to the community, to other law enforcement agencies, to our stakeholders, to our businesses. So that's why I've outlined some of the things. We're constantly meeting with the Prince George's County Office of Emergency Preparedness. We're putting together a comprehensive emergency operations plan in case we have an emergency in the town, how to handle it, doing the same thing on the opposite side of the street in Cottage City. The mayor, myself, and Sergeant Sims, we met with the Business Association meeting at IHOP, really successful. It's a collaboration of all the business leaders. It was Cottage City and Colmar Manor, as a matter of fact. And it establishes that relationship where we know the people by their first name, and we've got their email addresses, their cell phones. So it's something we try to do on a quarterly basis. The Neighborhood Watch, again, Sergeant Sims attended the Neighborhood Watch with Councilmember Blue, the council member just reminded me again. We have a Neighborhood Watch meeting Thursday, February the 22nd here at the Town Hall at 7 o'clock. So we really encourage our folks to come out. And we have it once a month, and it's on Thursday, February the 22nd. And we'll be giving some information out to the citizens about some things that they can do to improve their personal safety at that meeting. I participated in the polar bear plunge. Why did I put that on there? That's where police officers go out and we jump into we actually jump into the Chesapeake. It was 28 degrees that day and the water was about 32 degrees. We don't do it for the accolades, we do it because it benefits Special Olympics, and that's part of the outreach to our community. I was just selected to the Prince George's County Municipal Chiefs Association to be on their executive board. Why is that important? Again, as part of the outreach, we communicate with the 26 other municipal chiefs in Prince George's County almost on a weekly basis, and it helps us understand some of the criminal activity that may be taking place in other towns that could potentially impact us. The last thing I've got on there is on February 1st, we participated in the grand opening of the Shoppers Food Warehouse. They are wonderful business folks, and because of the relationship we have with them and the wonderful employees that are there. They were very gracious. We didn't solicit this, and they gave us a $500 donation, which will go right back into the community. That doesn't go into my budget. I'll use that for an outreach program for children and things of that nature. So I just really want to thank those folks. A number I always try to give out is 301-352-1200. That's the number that you call for police response, other than 911, if you have 911 if it's emergency. But the 301-352-1200, when you call that number, if there's a Colmar Manor officer working, they'll send the Colmar Manor. If there's a Cottage City officer and there's no one from Colmar Manor working, they'll send the Cottage City officer. And if neither one of those departments, then they'll send Prince George's County Police. That's the central communications number, and that's the best way to get in touch with the police department. The last thing is on the calls for service, the document that shows that we had 72 calls for service. We had 74 last month. Again, I want to give the folks in the community accolades. We only had 2 theft from autos, no break-ins, no robberies, no assaults, nothing of that nature. The mayor asked me a question at the last meeting about, you'll see on there are the highest calls are calls what we call disorderlies or unknown troubles. And I just want to explain what that is. When we get a call over the radio from the police dispatcher, they may have very little information. So sometimes they classify it as an unknown trouble or sometimes a disorderly. It doesn't mean that that's the case. I did a little quick analysis of the 7 disorderly calls that we got. Every one of them was at a business, but only 4 of them were verified. 3 of them were false calls. So really it was 4 calls for folks. And when I say disorderly, it's usually a customer dispute, or it's sometimes someone who's maybe had a little too much alcohol to drink, and the business owners are asking us. The unknown troubles, again, there were 8 of those. 4 of those were false calls. And so when we look at them, we have to document those are the number of calls for service that we got on. But again, when you look at it, it's really only about half of those were actual real calls for service for the officers when they had to go and take some action. And the last thing is that we are experiencing a little bit of an uptick with some of our restaurants on Bladensburg Road with a problem with some of our folks kind of loitering out in the parking lots. And so we're working with the business community on that. But I just encourage our folks here, if you see anything that looks out of the ordinary, please give us a call. That's the only way that we know where issues may be taking place. But again, and again, it's not because I'm the chief. We are very, very fortunate in this community where we live in Colmar Manor to have such a low crime rate. And again, that goes back to the folks that are calling in. So other than that, I'll take any questions, Mayor, if you have any questions, or if anyone from the community here has any questions. But I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to participate another year. And I hope I provide the services to the folks of this community. I work for you. I work for you, and you're the police department just as much as the officers are. Just one more thing, we are, the mayor indicated we are 2 officers down. We've gone through a real aggressive hiring process. We've got that narrowed down now to 4 people that we're looking at. I'll bring those names to the mayor and the council. Very fortunate. I'm very, very pleased with the quality of the officers that we've got that's applied to our police department.
Okay, that was the only thing that I was going to ask, if you could add a status of where we were in
Yes,
hiring.
ma'am. Yeah, like I said, we were very pleased. We had 28 applicants for the 2 positions, which I've talked with some of the other municipal chiefs. For whatever reason, we've got a lot of folks applying to our police department, and we're doing our due diligence now. We're doing the background on a certain smaller group of those applicants. We hope to bring those to the mayor and the council here. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll be able to do it by next month, because again, it's a process. We really want to make sure we're getting quality people. But I'm very pleased with the folks that we've had apply so far.
Anybody have any questions?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
how's it going with the,
I'm sorry.
code enforcement?
Yes, so code enforcement. So the mayor indicated that, like my position, where the 2 towns work in collaboration to have 1 person working full-time for both agencies. I'm the chief of police for Colmar Manor and Cottage City. The mayor and council and the commissioner from Cottage City have agreed to do that with the code enforcement officer, to make that a full-time position where the responsibilities and all the costs associated will be shared, and I'll let the brains work all that stuff out. But that person will report to me, so I'll have oversight of the issues in both Cottage City and Colmar Manor. I met yesterday with a group of people from Prince George's County DPIE, the Department of Permit Inspection and Enforcement. They're going to give us a tremendous number of assets as far as if the person needs to be trained, they're going to train them free of charge.
Right.
They're going to do a lot of work with both of the towns. The whole idea behind code enforcement is compliance. It's not about charging people money. It's not about giving tickets. It's about coming to the community, explaining what the codes are, giving them the opportunity to make the improvements, going through education process, and we're really going to emphasize that a lot before there's any enforcement activities taken, if at all. We really want to explain to the folks. So I'm very enthusiastic about that. We're in the process right now of writing that job description in concert again with the mayor and the council and the commissioners and the town managers. But we hope to have that online with MML in the next week or so, as long as that works out with the two towns. And then we'll move forward with interviewing applicants. So I'm really enthused about it.
And so I asked Mr. Delane, what is his last name?
Galloway?
Galloway, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
If he could put together like we did when we were hiring the chief.
Yes, ma'am.
A task force to look into hiring, making agreements and things that we want to agree upon, and making sure that we're on the same page, just like we did with the chief, in order
Both
to make
towns.
sure we get, the right person in. And I want to appreciate everybody for your patience in a lot of staffing changes that we've had to make. But I do want to say, no matter which way going forward things are, the changes that have been made have been necessary to the betterment of the services being provided to you. And it takes some time in order to get the right people in, make sure we have the right people to provide service to the community. And so it is what it is, it's what happens. But all of these changes are for us to give better service to our community. So with that, I will ask if there's a motion to accept the police report.
I'll make that motion.
I believe the gentleman had a question there.
Oh, I just want to make sure I got that number right.
Yes, sir. 301-352-1200. And that's other than emergency. If it's emergency, 911. But that's the number, and for whatever police department's closest, that's who they'll send, sir. That's the best number.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, I'll make that motion to accept the chief report for January 2018.
Is there a second?
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4,
Aye.
and the mayor votes aye. Thank you
Thank you,
so
Mayor.
much, Chief. I appreciate it.
Ma'am.
So the next item is unfinished business. And so we've got a bit, which we normally would do in a work session, but let's go ahead and move forward. Mr. Baden, you want to explain the transfer for the Chesapeake Bay Trust
Yes.
transfer of funds?
All right, the city was awarded a $30,000 grant from the Chesapeake Bay Trust, and this was for design services for a green street on Newark Road. The council approved the contract with, I believe it was Inspired Green, to do the work at the last work session. But these monies haven't been allocated in the budget yet, so that needs to be done before the contract could actually be formally awarded to the company Inspired Green. So there is a motion on the table tonight, or needs to be a motion on the table tonight, that we budget $30,000 in the fiscal year 2018 budget to include a revenue amount of $30,000 titled Chesapeake Bay Trust Grant and an expenditure account titled Green Street Design Project.
Okay. Is there a motion to that which Mr. Baden stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Now, this is taking on both activities at the same time, am I correct?
The revenue and the
The
expense.
revenue and the expense, okay. And so is there any discussion? I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4,
Aye.
and the mayor votes aye. Okay, Mr. Bailey, got that one done. Okay, the next one is, I'm going to skip parking one for us to go to complete these other actions. You have legal counsel fees.
Yep, you also have a memo regarding the legal counsel fees. This was also on the agenda for the last work session. Again, we did not have the number of counsel necessary in order to approve transfer of funds. But the mayor had stated earlier that because of some lawsuits from past employees, we have incurred additional lawsuits to date that are outside of the mayor or outside of the attorney's retainer. To date, our legal costs have added up to $33,386. This includes the bill through December for the work associated with the additional legal services. Our current budget is $22,551. We therefore need $10,835 to cover the shortfall. My recommendation is to transfer $11,000 from unreserved funds to the legal counsel to cover the projected shortfall in this line item. And the case that we are referring to is still active, so it is anticipated that additional funding will be needed before the end of the year. So that is the recommendation at this point.
Okay, so is there a motion to make the transfer as from reserve to general fund for legal fees as suggested?
I'll make that motion stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Just for the sake of understanding transparencies, Mr. Barr, do you have any thoughts and anticipation of how much this may go towards the end of the year?
I do not. My anticipation, thank you, is that the briefs for the circuit court case and the Court of Appeals case are mostly done. And those two cases will resolve themselves. Part of the monies that have been approved without too much additional cost. I anticipate that as I said in my memo to you, that the circuit court will hear this case in May and that of this year, and that the Court of Special Appeals will hear the Court of Special Appeals case in November. There are two other cases that this one employee has filed. There is a civil rights case, and that case has been taken over by our insurance. And then the cost of the defense is provided by our insurance. Second is that there is a threatened but not filed case claiming that the chief took his action in dismissing this employee as a retaliatory gesture against the employee. That case is not going anywhere. I don't anticipate it going anywhere at this time. What we received was a statutory notice that we have to receive in order for someone to sue the town. That would also go to the local government insurance trust, and we have no expenditure for that. So I would say that the majority of the work in this matter is done, other than preparing for and having the arguments and polishing the briefs.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for that information, Mr. Barr. And I guess I'll make a comment just for anybody. The local government insurance fund tends to take over cases that may come up, and then they handle the legal fees and so forth. So these are above and beyond those fees, unfortunately. I think that I am in discussion. Any other discussion? You have a first and a second?
Motion by Jackson, second by Bowden.
Okay. So I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3, and the mayor votes aye. I mean, Ward 4? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Ward 4? Aye. Okay, aye. I know, right? And the mayor votes aye. Okay, so Mr. Baden, want to go on to the security cameras?
Yep, at the work session, the mayor and council discussed a few different proposals from a company called iTech LLC. They are a local company based in Bladensburg for some upgrades to the security camera and monitoring system here at the municipal building. They did approve the, what was the second option that was presented in the amount of $22,683.26. Again, there was additional funding that needed to be provided in order to actually formalize the contract and send it out to the vendor. There was not enough council members present at that meeting in order to make the transfer, so it is on the agenda tonight. The motion would be to transfer $15,000 from police salaries and $1,700 from code enforcement salaries to the line item, which I believe is called capital outlay security cameras, which already has $6,000 in there, so that'll bring the total to $22,700. So the motion is needed to transfer $15,000 from police salaries and $1,700 from code enforcement salaries to that security, capital outlay security camera line item.
And do we need another $600?
There's already $6,000 in there.
Oh.
If we take $15,000 from police and $1,700 from code enforcement, that should give us $22,700.
Okay.
And the proposal was for $22,683.
Okay, so we're good. Okay, is there a motion for us to make these transfers for the camera purchase?
I'll make the motion. It's stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? So I wanted to say, just so I don't know what we're gonna probably do next, but, Chief, so I think we forgot still a camera down at the entrance of the, elevator on the, basketball level. We talked about there was no camera around the elevator there.
Yes, ma'am.
And we had an incident this weekend where something happened underneath of the stairwell and
Right.
busted the sprinkler system, and a camera, even if it was at the bottom of the stairs, would have been helpful. So,
Okay.
well, I don't know when we have budget. I mean, as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll have a better idea
Sure.
if there's any money that can be moved around. I wouldn't take any additional out of reserve.
Yeah, and the good thing about this system, if we want to add on incrementally, the infrastructure is there now, Mayor, so.
Right, right. All right, well, thank you so much, I appreciate it. I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3? Ward 4?
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. Okay, Mr. Baden, let's move on to our permeable sidewalk.
All right.
Fortieth Avenue.
Next item is the transfer of funds for the 40th Avenue permeable sidewalk project. I believe you stated in the update on the work session that this was tabled, but in our conversations, I believe you said that you awarded the contract, the two contracts, the Capital Hardscapes and then Louise, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the only thing left, again, is a budget transfer. So the city received a community legacy grant in the amount of $20,000 to install a permeable paver sidewalk on 40th Avenue. This is on the Shoppers Food Warehouse side of the road. What this is, it's a permeable paver so that, it's environmentally friendly, so any water that falls on it will basically soak into the ground instead of running off and into the storm drain area. We had quotes from 2 different companies, one to do the sidewalk and permeable pavers, another from a company called M. Louise Construction, who will put in the handicap ramps that are necessary. There'll be 2 at the driveway area and 1 at Newark and 40th Avenue to access the parking lot of Shoppers. So the total cost associated with the project is $26,187. The owners of the shopping center, Mr. Lusk and Mr. Fernbach, have agreed to make up the difference needed between the $20,000 grant and the $26,187 project cost. So this will not be costing the town any money. Will enable us to have a sidewalk on that side of the road and also handicap access from Newark Road into the shopping center. M. Louise Construction is the contractor that has been doing all of the work on Bladensburg Road over the last year. The whole streetscape upgrade on Bladensburg Road. Some of you may have noticed that the new lights were turned over today at the intersections there at 40th Place, or the 40th Avenue and 38th.
Yeah, they did 38th Avenue today, sir.
Yep, so, that is, by putting those lights in, all of the crosswalks will be finalized that are currently, if you've noticed, they're a temporary asphalt. They will now be concrete as well because they're waiting to put those lights in and make sure they're operating. That project should be finished, by the end of March. But we have hired that contractor to do the handicap ramps because they're already out there doing that work. So as they're doing that, they'll just continue on and work on the 40th Avenue project that we have. So what we need is a motion to designate a revenue line item titled 40th Avenue Permeable Paver Project Revenue, and this will be the $20,000 from the grant and the $6,187 from the shopping center owners, and another account on the expenditure side called 40th Avenue Permeable Paver Project Expenditure. And each of these should be in the amount of $26,187, and that motion is in your paperwork that you have with you.
Excuse me. Okay, I'll make that motion as stated.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1,
Aye.
Ward 2,
Aye.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4.
Aye.
The mayor votes aye. I really want to thank Mr. Lusk in the shopping center for making this contribution to the sidewalk. He had originally agreed to contribute $2,000, and when we were short another $4,000, he was willing to step up and so that we can get the sidewalk in. And I believe it'll be the first permeable sidewalk probably in the state of Maryland. So I'm very excited about getting that sidewalk in. Mr. Baden, is it possible you can provide a little bit more update on what's going on with State Highway? Because it's just been a little frustrating that it's been taking so long for them to accomplish this project.
Well, the project itself extends from the DC line up to Peace Cross. It was slated to begin, a couple years ago, but WSSC had some work that they needed to do. So about a year ago, you saw all the work up there, and tearing up of the streets was related to the work that WSSC did. That was completed, so then State Highway came in to do their work, and it included upgrades to the sidewalk, the crosswalks, the signals, the crossing signals, for the walk, don't walk, and did not include upgrades to landscape and the medians. The mayor and council were able to work with State Highway to get all of the medians upgraded. So I think it was October, November timeframe. You know, you saw all new plantings go in there. All of the pavers on the sidewalks, you know, we still retained the edging with the brick, which looks really nice, all the way from the DC line into Peace Cross. So, you know, the final work that needs to be done is, you know, finishing off the handicap ramps and installing the permanent paving for those ramps, and that will be done shortly after the new signals are all in. So, you know, their anticipated completion date again is mid to the end of March. So then we'll have a, you know, very nice gateway into Colmar Manor in Prince George's County.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate the update. Okay, next item. Let's see, that was permissible. Okay, so now we can go to the introduction of the parking, well, update to the parking permit ordinance, because we already have a parking permit ordinance, but this is an introduction to changes to our parking permit ordinance. Mr. Barr.
Mayor and members of the council and residents here tonight, the ordinance which is in your packets as ordinance 01/2018 is an ordinance concerning the repealing and reenacting with amendments of section 10-117 and following of the Code of Ordinances of the town for the purpose of correcting and revising certain provisions providing for restricted on-street parking in the town code in order to make the prohibitions and restrictions contained workable under present circumstances, and regarding parking of non-commercial vehicles on the streets of the town and providing for violations and penalties. Essentially what the ordinance will do, and it will contain language making it an emergency ordinance, which means it goes into effect immediately. None of the other provisions of enacting an ordinance are modified. Simply, it just goes into effect immediately instead of 45 days after the enactment of the ordinance. And the proposal will, in effect, impose upon the town as a whole a parking restriction for residents and their benefit on the streets of the town. But that will only be enforced initially in the 4th Ward, I believe. Is that correct? Yes. And that is the purpose for the amendments, and to make it additionally more workable and to delete the fees that were attached to that program as initially adopted and in the code. That essentially is the contents of the ordinance.
Okay, so is there a motion for us to introduce the changes in the parking ordinance?
I make that motion as stated.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so discussion. I'll just say, first of all, this is an introduction, which means that if changes need to be made to it, it can always be made. That's so why we do introductions and then we do hearings before we enact the legislation. And the main purpose of the changes in this ordinance was the original ordinance required a significant amount of activity for people to go through in order for them to have permitting on their block. And because of that, it appears that this has been holding back the whole idea of moving forward because there's just too much people petitioning, doing surveys, looking into taking votes. I mean, a lot of things that physically people who go to work every day and come home every day do not have time to sit and try to prepare, and then having a separate hearing. This pulls all of this out of it. There's two good reasons to have parking permits. One is that we get people to register their cars to the town of Colmar Manor. There is funding that comes to us from motor vehicles when a car is registered. That doesn't mean that there's necessarily a sign on your block that says parking by permit only. That's something that we can further discuss as we go down the line, but the first step is getting people permitted, making sure that the people who have their cars here overnight are actually literally people who are registered to the address in Colmar Manor. So it'll take some time before we all get down to the point of really resolving the parking issues, but this is a step. By moving forward, we can start to actually get people permitted. So that's the first step, is to say, you're here in town and you have a car registered, not in New Carrollton, not in Lanham, but in Colmar Manor, and not even in DC, which was enforceable, but this allows us to get permitting. So that's our first step. And so with that, any other discussion? And not in Brentwood, yes, but Colmar Manor. So this is just stepping us forward to get people permitted. This is, and we decided that we're going to work with Ward 4 as the first step in piloting, actually limiting parking on the streets from 4 p.m. at night until 10 a.m. in the morning. So I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Mayor?
Aye.
Yes?
Pardon
More
me.
discussion.
A point of law here. Will the maker of the motion and the seconder agree that the bill is introduced as an emergency bill, emergency ordinance?
Okay. You want
That
to
yes?
accept that? Yes?
No. No. doesn't mean
Amend the
that-
motion.
You agree?
Yes?
Thank you.
All right, I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2?
Aye.
Ward 3? Ward 4?
Aye.
Okay. Mayor votes aye. We will have a public hearing on this ordinance at the next town meeting in September. September.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
March?
No,
No.
we have to have it in April. In April, the second Tuesday in April, whatever date that is. And the reason why is we've already got an emergency ordinance, so we can move forward without an additional meeting for that. The April meeting will be April the 10th. The reason is that we have to wait 30 days to have a public hearing, and our next meeting is in 28 days, not 30. So that's why we moved it to April. So we'll have a public hearing on that. Anybody at the time will be announcing it. Anybody wants to talk about the details of it and so forth, the opportunity is there for us to do this, you know, all over again and talk about it and so forth. Okay. Did I call? Yes. Did we vote?
Yes.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the introduction of incoming mayor's salaries ordinance. Mr. Bard.
thank you. Madam Mayor and members of the council, ordinance number 02, 2018, in draft form before you, to be introduced, is an ordinance concerning repealing and reenacting with amendment section 1105 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Colmar Manor for the purpose of increasing the salary of the mayor and providing additional compensation for the mayor when she provides services to the town, defining the term, full-time services to the town, defining the full-time services, that term, and generally correcting and revising certain provisions of the town code necessary for these amendments and provisions. essentially, it raises the salary of the mayor from $9,000 per year to $10,000, and provides that, starting with the budget year beginning July 1st, 2018, the mayor, upon a determination by the full council, at which the mayor shall absent herself, or himself, that the mayor is the primary administrator for the operation of the town government. The mayor shall be paid so long as she or he performs the services of a full-time administrator, an additional stipend of $15,000. That stipend can be taken away at any time the mayor is no longer providing the services, relinquishes it, or the mayor and town council, or pardon me, or the town council without the mayor present votes to remove the additional stipend. It's all within the control of the town, and it would be paid in the same manner and to the same extent as payments of salary are made to town employees.
Okay, so essentially, this enacts to whomever is the incoming mayor a salary of $10,000 as opposed to $9,000. And it also allows for the council to appoint the mayor in a position of administering the town services for an additional stipend of $15,000 if they so see fit.
Right. Now, the mayor is not given the term town administrator. She or he would be the administrator.
Right.
In fact.
The administrator.
In
yes.
fact. It would also provide for health insurance, because as a full-time employee, the mayor or that person serving in that role would be a full-time administrator, full-time employee, and thus eligible for health insurance as provided by the town.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion for us to introduce this ordinance?
I'll make that motion to introduce it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion?
Who's the second?
Mendoza.
Just that this was just brought to the council attention at the last work session, and Councilmember Blue and myself were the only one present. So this is something that we have not really reviewed yet at this time. That's all.
And as I stated in the last ordinance, this is an introduction, so there'll be a hearing and opportunity to go over. And there's job descriptions that actually represent the difference between the two, and so there's another opportunity to actually go over it. Any other discussion? So I'll call for a vote. Ward 1?
Aye.
Ward 2? Ward 3?
Aye.
Ward 4?
Aye.
The mayor abstains to vote. All right, thank you guys so much. At least that's something out.
So, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Uh-huh, sure.
So this is an introduction, so we will have a public hearing also.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to have the public hearing on this on the 20th, on March 20th.
March 20th.
The third Tuesday in March. A special hearing. Well, we have to set up a date. You want to do it
Why
the
are we
same
doing it
day?
a special hearing and not the regular town meeting?
Because it's only 28 days, the regular town meeting.
This is introducing this?
Yes.
Oh,
And then would you do it in April?
Yes. You
Why
can do it
not
in
have
April,
this?
have it effective in April. It just requires the 45 days till it becomes effective. It's not effective until the beginning of the budget for 2018, the way it's
There's an
drafted.
election May 1st.
Pardon me?
There's an election May 1st. What's the time between the hearing and?
The time between the hearing, if you vote on it at the April general meeting, it will go into effect at the time of the budget. And that will fit into the prescription against raising salaries during the term of office of a particular elected official. You cannot raise the emoluments received by an elected official during that person's term of office. The term of the office of the mayor of Colmar Manor, Mayor Barrow, will end at the election, which is going to be conducted in May. And the new candidate will be sworn, the new electee, whether it's Mayor Barrow, whether it's anybody who's legally permitted to be the mayor, will take office in May. This ordinance will have been adopted. It will just be waiting for it to go into effect. It says by its terms that it goes into effect at the election, not the election, at the budget year. So I have no problem with saying that it's effective. And you can do it that way, or you can have the meeting in March. That's at the discretion of the mayor and council.
Well, since we're having a public meeting for the parking in April, why not do both of them at the same time?
Seems like a lot.
Well, you could do both of them in March, or you could do both of them in April.
In April,
Well, parking has to be, there's a limit, right? It's like a 30-day. We just introduced
Oh,
it
the
today,
public hearing.
the public hearing.
Yeah,
Right, why can't we do both of them in April?
Same
we
time.
could. It just seemed like a lot.
I mean, I remember that gives the residents time to get their questions and thoughts and bring it back to us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry,
I'm
not
sorry,
hearing you.
I can't speak any loud.
She's saying it gives them
Over
citizens time
here.
to bring any
I'm talking out my
questions.
nose, Mr. Barr, I apologize.
No, I apologize to you. My hearing aids aren't picking you up.
My suggestion was that we have the public hearing in April for both, for the, introducing the parking permit ordinance and also introducing the incoming mayor's salary.
You realize that by having the public hearing in April, you will also have that on the agenda for adoption in April. To
Because
make
there's
them
no
both
time in
effective
between.
this
So if you
term
had the
of the
public
mayor's
hearing
office.
before, then after listening at the public hearing, you would still have an opportunity to make revisions all the way to April. But if you do the public hearing in April, then you actually have to vote right then and there because May is not an option. Because it's after the election.
I'm okay with doing the public hearing in March if
That's what I was, it would still be more than 30 days for people to come to a hearing.
March 20th, Mayor?
The third Tuesday?
Third
That
Tuesday.
works for,
Third Tuesday? So
Third.
It's not on a regular,
we can't do it on the second Tuesday because it's only 28 days. And it has to be at least 30 days.
okay, that's fine, that's fine.
You need a
That's
30-day gap.
We can always change it. If y'all want to just do it in April, we can do it then, after we have
Until you
more
have the public
conversation.
hearing.
That's fine with you.
Beg your
We
pardon?
can still put it on the agenda for the work session in March for any further discussion anybody wants to have.
That's fine.
Okay.
What is the sense of the mayor and
Right now
council?
it's March the 20th. Third Tuesday in March. We'll announce it on the first Tuesday. I mean, we'll announce it.
Are we
in
moving the
second
March
Tuesday.
general meeting, or we're just having a special meeting for the public hearing?
We could move the whole general meeting to the third Tuesday, just to give it,
To the 20th.
That's fine with me, that's okay with the council. I'm okay with that.
all right?
I'm saying, no.
Any objections to us moving the general meeting to the third Tuesday? No objections?
So, we're not gonna have the public hearing on March the 20th? We're not gonna do? that
Yeah,
one?
March 20th.
Right, okay.
But the
Then you
question
want-
is, do you want to just move the general meeting, or do we still have the general meeting on the 13th? The 13th.
Have the general meeting on 13th.
So we have the general meeting on 13th, and then the hearing on the 20th. Is everybody okay with the, okay. So we'll do it that way. All right. Next item on the agenda is new business. There being none, the next items will be our committee reports. Do we have a report from the seniors? Mr. Muchler?
Ed?
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Muchler. Appreciate that. Do we have a garden club report?
Yes. Our president, Dorita Epps, cannot attend tonight, so I'll be giving the garden club report. Our garden club will be hosting our second diabetes class, which will be this Saturday, February the 17th, from 10 to 12, and it'll be in the outreach room. And what it is, information just telling the residents about diabetes and how it can affect your life, and also how we have this beautiful gym downstairs that we all can use for free. Also, the town, we're part of Heal Healthy Eating. So for the month of February, is all about healthy eating. So at the diabetes class, we'll have apples to give out to residents if they come. This class is not only just for the garden club, actually everyone is welcome. In March the 17th, one of our residents named Kirk will be hosting an open house at his home for the garden club, and at that time we'll be talking about how we're going to replace the garden pots that we need to replace. I think we need to replace about 14 of them, which that can be very costly. So one of the things that we came up with is doing 2 a year, and we'll be replacing this time, having where they're sustainable. So it won't be as cost efficient.
The ones in east or west? In
No,
east?
the west,
Oh.
yeah.
Because I
Ward,
thought that
yes.
west, they
Well,
were
the
done
wa-
away so that we could avoid it. But the east,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought in the east we did it
I mean-
to avoid, but the west was the old ones.
Yeah,
Right.
West, yeah, and there's some
Right.
old ones.
Right.
So we come up with some ideas, so we'll be talking about that. Also, we'll be doing a fundraiser again at the community forklift at their garden party, which is also in March, and I'll keep y'all updated. We also have plots available. Please let me know if you're interested in having a garden plot. We have some residents that did, they obtained a plot last year, but they did not really participate in none of the fundraisers or things that we were doing as a group. So we're revisiting that so we do have plots available. Thank you.
All right.
What time was Kirk's party in Ward 1?
Actually, I don't have a date on here, but
It was the March
the 17th is, I'm out of town. The 17th, so it's probably around the same time. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have the time yet, but I'll
You said
send
March
something out.
17th?
March 17th, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is the green team report?
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Hi, so the March 12th Green Team meeting is going to be moved to Monday, March 19th, 1 week later. Instead, on the 12th, the Green Team is going to be attending a meeting at the Bladesburg Waterfront Park boat rental building. The topic of the meeting is going to be citizen science and air pollution monitoring. And training is going to be provided at that meeting using 2 kinds of real-time sensors for particulate matter. So it's part of the citizen science training. It's kind of the kickoff for that. There will be a doctoral student of Dr. Wilson's there there'll be a doctoral.
Get closer.
Yeah.
Get it closer.
Yeah. There'll be a doctoral student of Dr. Wilson's there who's writing her dissertation on particulate matter pollution in this area, and she'll be training on these sensors, and in the next week that project is going to go into full swing where people will be walking around and getting real-time data.
Okay, sounds very interesting.
Yeah, so that'd be an interesting thing for anyone to attend. It'll be 6 to 8 at the Bladensburg Waterfront Park Boat Rental Building. At last night's Green Team meeting, I briefed the team on the Maryland Environmental Screen Tool, and Councilmember Mendoza briefed us on the PG County Pet Waste Management Summit that's going to be held on March 29th. And finally, the team also discussed the status of recycling at the Colmar Manor Shopping Center and what to do about that. Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Huh? So, I wanted to say that, when we met with the Business Association, our focus was on getting the businesses to recycle. They are supposed to be recycling. The shopping center is not. Shoppers Food Warehouse has a very a good recycling program. They send it out by corporate. Also, that Lucky Mart, they have a really good recycling program as well. So our green team will be working with our businesses, bringing everybody into compliance, and we look forward to what the outcomes are on that as well. Okay.
Does Cottage City have a green team also?
I don't
Chief?
think so.
Chief,
Ma'am?
does Cottage City have a green team also?
Yes, ma'am, they do.
Oh, okay.
It's not as
Are they-
robust, but they absolutely have one.
Oh, okay.
'Cause I,
They're in the process of forming one.
Correct.
yeah, that's what I thought, that they were actually interested in, and
Maybe they should invite
coming
them
by
over
to
to ours
ours
to get them started.
to help them get started. Like, they helped us with the garden, because they,
Yeah.
had their garden first. Okay, is there a recreation report? Ms. Bowden?
We still have Zumba here every Monday and Wednesdays.
Put your mic closer.
We still have Zumba here every Monday and Wednesday at 7:15 and Saturdays at 9:30. And like the mayor was saying, this Saturday we're having our Black History program from 3 to 6 p.m. And our theme is Seniors Then and Now. And it's free. So if you're not doing anything, please come out and help celebrate Black History. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bowden. Was it 3 to 6?
3 to 6.
Yeah.
3 to 6, yes. Look for a robust program. We have some very excited people working on this. And I just want to let you know ahead of time, like I said, we'll have a newsletter coming out within a week, but we, along with the Zumba instructor, are going to do a limited $3 per Zumba, so that we can start to increase those coming out to Zumba. And we'll start out with an open house. It'll probably be, I think it's the first week in March, with the open house, which will be free to everybody. And then after that, it'll be $3 until someone decides differently. So we look forward to everybody coming out for Zumba. It's very exciting. I guess somebody's waiting for me to come out for Zumba too. So the next item on the agenda is citizens' comment. Is there anyone that would like to come up and make any kind of comments? Okay, council, do you have any comments? For the good of the order?
I'm just happy to see the residents coming out today.
Yes, I am too.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
I just want to say, congratulations to the children that made the honor roll too.
Oh, okay. So I don't have
Yeah, I
young
had a
children
couple.
anymore, so I don't know who's out there
Grandkids.
getting, although, but thanks for reminding me of that, because my grandson, who's 4, he just got an award cum laude in preschool. So it's very exciting. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Does Mamie have any comments
Oh,
that
did
she
you
would like
want-
to
oh.
say for Delegate Fennell?
I just want to say, thank you for allowing me to come. Diana has asked me to come so that she can keep in touch with you and to know what's going on, and that's why I'm taking notes. I take them back to her, so when she come back, she'll be fully informed. And she's working very, very hard. I went to Annapolis last night, hadn't seen her in 3 or 4, I did last Saturday. But she wants you to know that if anytime you need her, to please text her or call her, and she'll be there for you. And also, I will, if you have anything you want me to take back to her, you can call me as well, and I text her just about 2 or 3 times a day. So we're keeping in contact with the community so that when she come back, she'll be fully informed. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate her doing that, so that, like you said, when she comes back from session, that's a very smart lady. Oh, my. All right, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion, as stated.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Hearing none. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all
Everyone
for
have a
coming
cupcake
out.
and
Yes,
enjoy
please come
the
have a
birthday